just like the last one I did. And I was like, I'm just going to talk for a couple minutes. I ended up being on for like almost 2 hours. It is 1:42 a.m. and I think I'm only going to be on here long enough to just share my thoughts about Lindsay Clancy trial today. So I've been watching every day of trial, and there was like 5 minutes where I thought, you know what? Maybe I could actually believe that. One sec. Maybe I could actually believe that she got poor care and that she was, you know, a victim of malpractice, basically. And I went in with an open mind, thinking, you know, we don't know. I don't know what happened. I'm here to listen. Now, I just want to clarify, if you've watched my stuff before, you might have noticed that, oh, by the way, I'm putting my dishes in the dishwasher. And that's why I thought, let me jump on a live while I do this for a couple of minutes. So, I truly lost any faith in Mr. Possessive. Thank you. With my stain, I'm like, I literally just got this shirt, and I don't know if it's water or something else I was eating, so I put more water on it. But thank you. So anyway, after listening to trial a little bit, I was just like, no, there's no way that I believe that she should get off. Because it seems to me that she was doctor shopping. She went from different doctor to different doctors. Some were virtual, some were in person. And yes, she was complaining about thoughts of SI. But she always said she didn't have a plan. And I guess in the medical field, you can't get a certain kind of care if just because you say you have some thoughts. Just because you say, oh, I have thoughts of this or that, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to act on it. And, you know, there's so many people that need help. I'm not exactly defending the medical field. However, listening to all of those doctors testify, I really get the sense that Lindsay was plotting. Like, she was not happy being a mother. She hadn't been happy. She hadn't been happy as a mother since her second baby was 1.5 years old, and he was 3, and she had another one, an 8-month-old one. And so anyway, what was really crazy today was I was watching. So I've kind of tried to find the people who are leaning more towards that she should be held criminally culpable, you know, responsible for murdering her 3 babies. And, you know, she had no history of mental illness. She did have some anxiety and had taken some pills in college, and she had no problem with them, but then when she was prescribed them later, she did. Now, you know, hey, when you have a baby, your hormones change. So I'm not denying that could be. It's just the whole way she went about it. First of all, she never sought out actual therapy. Which there was one lady who was a therapist that she only saw 4 times. And if you've ever been to therapy and you have recurring serious problems, you know that 4 visits is not going to do enough. And you, like, it's okay to, like, want to find somebody that you feel comfortable with. And I don't have any issue with that. But it just seemed like She was getting prescribed stuff. She wouldn't take it as she was prescribed. She was delaying it, taking less than it, and then she wasn't feeling good about that, and then she would just stop, and then she would say she wanted something else. And so to me, the fact that she's now trying to use the excuse that she had so many prescriptions when she asked for that repeatedly from multiple doctors, and now she's trying to say that they over-medicated her. It's just not making sense. Oh. But so something that really bothered me today. Oh, so the two people I found that seem to be looking at it with like a more reasonable, in my opinion, assessment is oh gosh, what's her name? Roberta. Shoot, I've been watching her every day. Roberta. Wait, why is it 2 minutes left? What's going on with my dishwasher? I just moved in, so I'm not that used to shit. Why is it 2 minutes? What is her name? Roberta. Oh. You can't see how she'd ever get off. I would think that too, but like 85% of the people in the chats have this like ridiculous amount of sympathy for her. And I say ridiculous because one second. It's like, first of all, they're just like taking everything she said as the gospel and not looking, in my opinion, not looking at the evidence critically. But, excuse me. Also, Pat Brown, profiler Pat Brown. I like her. I like her take a lot. Okay, so today there was a couple of doctors up there who were talking about the autopsy of the little babies. And like the other day when there was a witness talking about, she was the person who did, I guess she was the medical examiner or something. She's the one who did the autopsy for the 8-month-old baby. And Lindsay was supposedly sobbing, but she was like this, like her hair was like this, and she's going like this. I didn't hear one single sniffle. You don't see a single tear. Not one single time did that lady reach for a tissue. Even Wendy Adelson was, as much of a bad actor I believe she was in her police interview, she at least had the wherewithal to pile up a bunch of fake tissues in front of her, which I thought was disgusting, but she kept grabbing tissues and pretending to cry, and you know, there was no tears or snot or anything, but she had a bunch of piled up tissues. Where Lindsay, she did that whole thing for like 10 minutes straight today. Not one sniffle, not one tear you could tell. Not a single tissue. And then all these Lindsay lovers, these baby killer lovers in the comments are like, oh my God, I was so heartbroken. She's been through so much. She's been tortured enough. People are either really simple or it's botted. Oh, I do believe there's some astroturfing, but I think that honestly, a lot of people in this country have a certain belief about white women. And, you know, like Karen Reed, I believe that she absolutely drunkenly backed into her then boyfriend, maybe ex-boyfriend, John O'Keefe, ran him over and left him to die in the snow. But I think that was also an astroturfing bot campaign. But there was so much sympathy for her, and like they literally made up this whole crazy story, similar to how now there's this trolling story that people are telling about that Lindsay Clancy's husband, excuse me, Patrick Clancy, that he actually was drugging her, that he framed her, that he killed the children, and then he convinced her that she did it, and she's just that she took accountability for it. And there's zero evidence. There's also people who are saying he was having an affair. I saw somebody today comment, him and his girlfriend killed the kids and framed Lindsay. So I was saying about the Karen Reed trial, they had this entire insane narrative that all the friends, all the cop friends, and their teenage children were all in on killing this cop who was their friend, that they had no motive to kill. And why would they kill him and then put him back on the lawn outside in the same exact spot where Karen Reed left him? And there was proof that she had gone backwards at a very high speed, and his shoe, I mean, there was so much evidence that she fucking did that in a drunken rage, and that she was trying to cheat on him with his friend who kind of liked her but was like, I thought you was in a happy relationship with John. He's a good guy. I like him. He's a friend of mine. And they tried to say it was that guy, Brian something. This is what I'm saying. Like, the whole this whole entire crazy narrative the internet will spit out, and it's probably bots, like Mr. Possessive said, and AstroTurfing campaign, and some of it is real people who get, I mean, honestly, I think there's a lot of fucking psychos out there who, they would do some crazy shit like that, and so they want to see some crazy bitch who killed her fucking kids get away with it, because they know that they would want to get away with it. Where, like, I've had 2 babies. I've been pregnant twice. I went through natural labor by choice. Sad but true. I had 2 babies at home births, no medication. I learned about the purpose of pain in labor. I learned about the power that women have to give birth naturally, and how our society has turned it into this awful, horrible pain, the most painful thing in the world, and you have to go be strapped up with, and all of those interventions actually make labor so much harder. And the way they try to force you down on your back with your legs up is like the hardest way to give birth. And anyway, all this stuff, I certainly think that the medical field definitely needs an overhaul. I think that my hair is like, it's time to go to bed, girl. The labor and delivery system needs an overhaul. And I believe postpartum care needs an overhaul. I think there's so much. But I also have critical thinking skills. Like, there were people on those chats today, and some of them are like getting so mad at me, of course, because I'm not just like bowing down to worship this baby killer and be like, oh my God, she had postpartum psychosis, even though absolutely nobody diagnosed her with that. And not a single doctor saw signs of it. And she didn't hear a single voice tell her nothing up until after she had killed her babies. And she woke up in the hospital. Oh, and today it came out that the defense attorney, Kevin Reddington, had sent his doctor or some guy to go talk to Lindsay, and had Lindsay call Patrick from his cell phone in the hospital room and say, I heard a voice say, kill them. And there was a cop who testified to, he didn't hear exactly what was said, but he did, somehow he was relayed to him that Lindsay had called the husband from this guy's phone, and it was basically suggested that this guy told her say you heard a voice. And do I think that women who are suffering, like there was this woman, Latarsha, I forget her last name, Saunders or something, same exact judge that's in Lindsay's case right now, had sentenced this woman who, her like 5 and 8-year-old sons, he sentenced her to 2 life sentences with no possibility of parole, but he had his convictions overturned the other day or last week because he refused to let her medical history in. And so now his shit got overturned and this lady's going to get another trial. And she had been previously diagnosed as schizophrenic. And I believe it was multiple times that she had been diagnosed as schizophrenic. And Lindsay had no diagnoses. And she had, she was going to multiple doctors, and hold on, let me yeet and delete some of these stupid motherfuckers. And yeet and delete, bitch. Yeet and delete. Hey, Mr. Possessive, if you're still there, I was trying to think of like, what's a word that rhymes with ignore? No, not rhymes with ignore. What's a word that rhymes with yeet or delete that means ignore? So I could have like a more snappy. So something that really pissed me off today was that, okay, they had the autopsy discussion. The prosecutors were asking questions. Ignore and hit the door. I like the yeet and delete part. So I want something that rhymes with yeet or delete that means ignore. Okay, so they were showing the, like, so apparently Lindsay's not seeing the autopsy photos because they took away the monitor that was in front of her. So she's hearing the testimony about it, and the prosecutor's asking questions about like the ligature marks and I guess the burst vessels in the eyes and all the stuff. And it was basically, I'm waiting to see if it actually dries or if it's a stain. Basically, there were bruises on the arms and legs of the little babies that were fresh. And it appeared as if they had struggled and fought back. And at least the 5-year-old and the 3-year-old. The 3-year-old was found in his dad's office in the basement in a different spot of the basement that the 5-year-old and the 8-month-old were found. They were found face down with these things around their neck by their father, by the way, who was blood-curdlingly screaming, oh my God, she fucking killed the kids, and trying to get the exercise bands, which means, somebody else pointed this out, exercise bands are stretchy, which means that you have to use extra strength, because unlike a rope or something that has no stretch, it's going to be, stretching as you're trying to tighten it around a thing, so you have to pull even harder and harder. So some people think that the 3-year-old may have witnessed what was happening to his, resistance bands have a lot to give, to them. I wonder why it hid that one. Okay, so there were bruises, like either she was like, obviously she was killing them, it wasn't a pretty sight. So the evidence and the testimony in this trial at parts is going to be utterly brutal. heartbreaking, devastating, and just horrific. And what I saw in the comments today was that lightning? These Lindsay lovers, and I mentioned this in a comment. Some people were getting so mad at me, and they're like, why are you insulting people? I'm like, who did I insult? Except for this murderer, this triple murderer, this triple baby killer. I hadn't insulted anybody. And I said, isn't it interesting that there were people in the comments who were literally saying, those prosecutors are evil. Those prosecutors should be ashamed of themselves. Those prosecutors are the worst people in the world. How could they put this up? They're just doing this to torture her. They're just putting this evidence on, meaning the doctors who did the autopsies and discussing like what happened. And even how did they die and what were their injuries, which if you've ever watched a murder trial, you know that is just part of a murder trial. It's gruesome and it's brutal sometimes. I mean, usually, right? And I was just like, I cannot believe that people are upset because of the brutal and horrific nature of what Lindsay did. But they're not mad at her. They're mad that the prosecutors are talking about it. They're mad that evidence is coming out. I also saw comments from the Lindsay lovers saying, you know, why do they keep asking questions? Why do they keep bringing all these different people out? It's like, well, if you're trying to charge somebody with 3 counts of murder, how are you supposed to prove it if you don't call witnesses and you don't talk about the brutal outcome of what she did? And I just find that to be a very telling reality, that these people who love Lindsay Clancy so much and think like, oh my God, what was her, boo hoo hoo hoo. And how dare these prosecutors fight for justice for 3 little innocent, helpless babies. How dare they talk about the brutal reality of what, you know, their, I guess, celebrity murderer did. How dare they allow the truth of what she did to be spoken out loud, you know? And I just find it bizarre that they don't have, like, they can't connect, like, how do you excuse, so I'm saying, like, if this woman had, I think there's a hair in my mouth, if this woman had a history of actual, like, most people, I get it, you know, people want to say postpartum depression can become its own thing, and someone who's never had any, you know, mental health struggles or diagnoses can suddenly become psychotic. And some people are like, she was begging for help. No, I've gone to therapy. I've needed help. I've actually, you know, gone to a therapist and felt like, I don't know if this is the right fit. And I gave it a few months. And then, you know, after a few months, and I was like, I don't think this is the right fit for me. Honestly, the real reason was because the only real reason that I couldn't get, like, truly go with that lady was because I had made the appointment. I'd finally made the appointment and booked a therapy session with someone. And then the next day, or not the next day, but like before my appointment, the day before my appointment, I was at Starbucks online with my partner, my baby's daddy, who I'm no longer with. We've been consciously uncoupled for 12 years now. And I've been a single mom this whole time, and I was a single mom when I was with him, even though we lived together, but I did everything. And it was fucking hard as hell, and it was stressful, and I was nursing 2 babies at the same time because they were so close in age. And it was draining in every single way, and depleting, and I had very little sleep, and it was just crazy. And anyway, so I sought help. I didn't feel like I had postpartum I just felt like, like it was a lot. So anyway, I'm online at Starbucks with my then, with the grandmother of my kids, my baby's daddy's mom. And we're standing there, and all of a sudden she sees the lady online in front of us, and she's like, oh my God, Barbara. That's not her real name. Oh my God, Barbara, hi. And they're like, hi. Okay. And we chat, and I'm saying hi, and this and that. And she's like, oh, this is my son's girlfriend, and they have kids, and blah, 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 blah. Okay. Next day, I go to my appointment, and who opens the door? Barbara. And I was like, what the fuck? I had no idea that you were going to be the lady that she didn't know, I didn't know. And it was just like, ugh. It was so awkward because you want your therapist to be somebody who's impartial and who can have a fresh view of you and not have some long-standing friendship with your, she wasn't my mother-in-law because we weren't married, but like basically, and she knew, like my baby's daddy had a lot of mental health issues. And so it was just like, ugh, this is so awkward. But I gave it a try. And I went to see her for many, many weeks. And it's so awkward. And like, what were the chances? Oh, thank you for the star. So I wasn't seeking medication. I was seeking therapy, like somebody to help me deal with the emotional aspect. Hi, gorgeous. How are you? I'm good. How are you? I'm coughing. Okay, so after a while, I was just like, I don't remember exactly. I guess I just told Barbara, like, I'm not going to continue. And so I sought out a different therapist, and I found another therapist, and she was great. I think I was with her for like 5 years. I went to her like weekly, and but she was like 80, and then eventually she retired. And but my whole point is, like, I have experience, and that wasn't the only time I've sought out therapy in my life, but I have experience with mental health struggles at times in my life and seeking out help. And of course, how I did it and how it manifested for me is not how it's going to be for every single person. But I know what it looks like when someone is genuinely seeking help, and when somebody wants to find solutions to their problems that can actually like improve their life and their well-being and their mental state. And when I've listened to all these days of Lindsay Clancy's so-called crying out for help, I don't see a woman who went from therapy to therapy. Like, it wasn't like she was seeking out a good fit for a therapist. She kept going for pills. She kept asking for medication, and she would take 1 or 2, and I'm addicted. How can you be addicted after a day, you stupid crazy bitch? Like, I get it. She's trying to prove that she's crazy, but it's like, but it wasn't crazy. Like, you ever met somebody who was like, like I said, my baby's daddy struggled with a lot of mental health issues, and some of it was very severe while we were together. And when he would be in those states, even now, like when he comes to pick up the kids, which he does, he picks them up on Wednesdays for dinner, he takes them for Friday for their sleepover. I can literally see something in his face within seconds and kind of get a sense, like if he's having a little bit of an off day. And there's just so many things that, when you're coherent and you're intelligent and you're making sense and you're disclosing your thoughts, and you're And so, like Pat Brown, the profiler, she believes that Lindsay is more like a personality disorder, like a psychopath, and like extreme narcissistic disorder. And I believe that. I believe that she does have some mental health issues. I mean, except for being like self-defense, anybody who kills another person is fucking crazy. Unless it's a self-defense situation, I think you're fucking nuts. Okay? And like my dad used to say, he thinks it's insane to say not guilty by reason of insanity. It should be guilty by reason of insanity. And I wouldn't even be opposed to like one of the reasons why I'm against the not guilty by reason of insanity for Lindsay Clancy or other people like that, thank you, is because the fact is that she could go to a mental health facility for 6 months and then be deemed okay and roll out in her fucking wheelchair. She's in a wheelchair because she slid out of the window onto frozen grass, frozen ground. And that's the least of the punishment that she should receive. And also part of why they... Oh, wait, I didn't turn this on. Part of why... Wait, why is it doing two? Hold on, I gotta stop this thing. Clear. I'm trying to set my... Wait, what is happening? Hold on, I need to see... I gotta figure out where my fucking dishwasher is not... Please give me 1 second. Let me cancel. Cancel. Okay, turn it on. Okay, there we go. I think that might be the right thing. I lost my train of thought. I was saying, you know, like, if they could be like, she's guilty by reason of insanity, so you're going to go to a mental health prison for the rest of your life, I could get with that. Like, I don't think that there couldn't be a distinction between guilty, you're just fucking guilty, and then, you know, what you did, you were highly mentally ill, so you're guilty by reason of insanity. And so, where am I? I'm in my kitchen. You're guilty by reason of insanity, so instead of sending you to a prison with Gen Pop, you know, the general population, we're going to send you to this mental health prison. And depending on what you've done, just like a regular prison, you know, you killed your own 3 babies, so that's 3 lifetimes worth in this mental health facility. I would be totally okay with that. I'm not opposed to certain people who do crimes being put in a more, you know, I mean, I feel like all criminals should go to some kind of mental health facility instead of just like a cruel prison. But, you know, and there's some people like, don't you have compassion? Yeah, motherfucker, I have compassion for those 3 babies. I have compassion for the father who came home to find his life destroyed, his family annihilated, and now has to deal with internet trolls blaming him when he's literally the 4th main victim of this. People are just so gross. And I know for a fact that if Lindsay Clancy was a black woman, or any woman of color, or a woman who didn't have, you know, wasn't as pretty. I mean, it's hard for me to look at her and think of her as pretty when she's a fucking baby killer, but I can see how people would think she's pretty. And, you know, if she wasn't like a white, semi-wealthy woman, would this case even be getting any coverage? Would that's what makes me mad, is that I believe that the people who are so super pro Lindsay is a poor victim. She was failed by everybody. Really. All those doctors who tried to help her, all those doctors who tried to guide her towards something, all those doctors who tried to get her into therapy, all the doctors who worked with her closely with, you know, what her concerns were about the medication that she was prescribed and giving her the lowest dose and only a few pills here and there just to try, and then she would just like take a day or two, and it was just so like she was not they should get help, but they shouldn't be allowed to walk free, right? And because that bitch is paralyzed, remember, she's not gonna walk no more. She should have to go to, you know, and you can get help. I mean, I don't know how good of a help you're gonna get in a prison, let's be honest. You know, and I don't believe that the prison system should necessarily be pure punishment and she shouldn't roll free, no. I don't believe that the prison system should be just purely punitive and, you know, treat people worse than animals. I don't agree with that. I mean, are there some people who are so evil and cruel that you know, maybe they do deserve that, I guess. But most people, you know, I think that the majority of people who do crime, it's like poverty and racism and systemic racism built to oppress people, and lack of opportunities and lack of health care, lack of education. You know, there's so much stuff that goes into it. But when you have like a semi-wealthy white woman who had literally, she was a fucking labor and delivery nurse. She knew about those medications. She knew about the postpartum psychosis, not guilty by reason of insanity kind of thing. And this is what I'm saying. I feel like she was plotting. I feel like she was trying to create. I feel like she just didn't, like, when she wrote that Facebook post talking about how her second baby, I'm done standing up in the kitchen. Her second baby, Dawson, the one who it appears, look, it's 2:22 in the motherfucking morning. The one that she, let's see if I turn this around. 86 degrees Fahrenheit, 2:22 a.m. Thursday, the 13th, August 13th. It's my cool clock. But what do I think? I believe, just like Karen Reed, that bitch got off with literally like drunk driving. 12 months suspended license for drunk driving after she murdered her boyfriend, her so-called boyfriend, who she left to die in a fucking blizzard. Oh, look at this cute lamp. How fucking cute is this? This is an LED, which means that you cannot replace it once the light bulb dies in 10,000 hours. I won't be able to replace it, but all right, you guys, I think that's all. The clock is so good. It's on Amazon. Well, does anybody have any more questions or comments or thoughts you want to share before I hang up and go to sleep? I think I said everything I wanted to say. Did it dry yet? Without the stain. Always great to catch you. I appreciate that so much, and always great to catch you as well. My Japanese incense. This one is jasmine. think it's blurry. It smells so good. This is stickless incense. It's a stick, but there's no stick. Anyway, anybody on here watching the Lindsay Clancy trial? Funny, I was on a work call earlier, and the guy I had two men on the call, and one is like, I don't know, he's older. His kids are like 30 something and 27 and 30 something. Okay, like he's older. And then the other guy is his kids are, he's a stepson who's 14, and he's got a brand new baby who is, let's see, like 4 months old. And then he's got a, let's see if I can make some better lighting. He's got, I don't know, like a 3 or 4 year old girl, okay? So anyway, we're on the call, and we were actually waiting for somebody else to join. So we just started to kind of like talk about whatever while we were waiting. And so he started saying that this was his first weekend, the whole weekend alone with the kids. And oh my God, women are just so much more naturally bonded to their children. Women are so much more naturally nurturing. And he's like, I believe in my heart that, mothers just bond with their children so much better. Sounds like they dropped something. Hold on one sec. Babe. Mm-hmm. Oh shit, my son just came down and he just slipped. He said there's water from the dishwasher leaking. Anyway, so I got annoyed because that is such a fucking stereotypical bullshit. And when a man believes that a woman is just more naturally bonded to her kids and just more naturally nurturing and that she can handle the stress better and all this shit, what that actually is putting a lot of fucking pressure on the mother, a lot of expectations, and basically shirking the responsibility. Like, what I didn't say to him is like, well, if you are there with your child every day and you pay close attention to your children and you look at them in the face and you hold them and you hug them and you pay attention to their needs and you talk to them and you're deeply involved with their life, you're gonna fucking bond with them. And just because you weren't pregnant with them and give birth to them, that does not mean that you can't bond with them. But so many men, it's a patriarchal belief that, oh, women are just better. So because he started saying that stuff, I was like, well, I just happen to be watching a trial right now of a woman who actually killed her 3 kids. And it's certainly not the case that women are always better nurturers or more patient or more loving. And so then he knew a little bit about the case. He didn't know a lot about the case, but he was really leaning towards like, well, you don't know what she was going through and you don't know this and that and the thing. And I'm like, well, actually, I don't know exactly what she was going through, but I have been pregnant and I have given birth and I have raised babies, and I didn't say, and I've nursed them, because I didn't feel that was appropriate on the work call. Not that any of the shit we were talking about was appropriate. But, it just gave me this. It's leaking? Oh my God. My kid said the dishwasher is leaking. Fuckness. I don't want this shit. Oh, fuck, it is. Okay. Damn it. I told my motherfucking new landlord, both parents should be bonded to their children in equal measure. Yes, and of course, you know, it might be different. See, oh, it is quite leaking. Hold on. That's because, wait, how do you pause this shit? That's because these rubber things on the side are not where they're supposed to be. Whatever you call this rubber, what do you call it? A seal, a rubber seal. It's supposed to keep the water in. Fuck, it's all wet. Disgusting. So, you know, is it true that a woman may be more bonded with her child during pregnancy, labor, and nursing? And I mean, sure. Even if a woman exclusively nurses, I mean, you know, I pumped, and there's a thunderstorm. And so when you pump, then you can give the dad some bottles with your breast milk. And honestly, I mean, he's correct. Unfortunately, not that dads are naturally less nurturing. You know, I mean, that's society. That's the patriarchy. Is 100% the patriarchy telling men, you know, playing with dolls is for girls, and that's a sissy, and they're gay, and they completely make men feel like wanting to be nurturing is not what they're supposed to do. And you know, don't cry and don't express your emotions and all this stupid bullshit. And so it's not natural, it's how they are raised. And then they, you know, there are plenty of men. I did say to him, I was like, well, it's not really a gendered thing, because even if it's more often true that, more often true that women are more nurturing, it's not always true. And even if it's more often true that men are not as nurturing, it's not always true. There's plenty of men that are amazing fathers, incredibly bonded with their children. And there's plenty of motherfucking mothers who are evil and cruel and goddamn just awful. So, making these fucking blanket sexist ass statements is just stupid. And, but you know what? That's exactly part of the problem in this world, is that so many people believe that women are just naturally better parents, more naturally loving and nurturing, that when some white lady kills her fucking babies and says, oh, I heard a voice tell me to do it, they say, okay, you're right. You were such a good mother. She wasn't a good mother, from the things that I heard in testimony. She was an obsessed, fucking, highly obsessed, incredibly controlling mother. She thought that, because I'm getting ready to go to bed. Why are you asking me that inappropriate question? You know, she had access to so much help. She had her in-laws, she had her husband, she had her parents, she had friends, she had nurse friends, she had access to healthcare, she had access to psychiatrists, she had access to therapists, she had access to inpatient care. She was referred to this mommies and babies place where she could take her baby with her. Thank you, Mr. Possessive. And I'm not saying that, like, so I don't believe justice is justice. I don't believe justice is, you know, I don't believe in our justice system. I had basically sworn off of watching trials But this time I'm watching this trial and I see what's happening. I see that the invisible tears and the shoulder shakes and the fake sobs and well, you could think a little harder, William. Okay. Like, why are you asking me that question? It's inappropriate and you know it. And if you don't know it, then maybe you shouldn't be here. Oh, look, I have another cool clock. So it has this, you can dim it. It's backwards because it's backwards. But it's nighttime, so I put it on dim. And then I actually put it upside down. Oh. Is that a freaking... What is that? I don't know. All right, guys. I think that's all I have. You love how shiny that one is? Yeah, well, the other one is actually quite shiny as well. It's totally shiny. I could show you. Let me see. I think there's... I don't know if this is a firefly or what, but I don't want it. Ew. Oh, what the fuck that is. Oh, okay. Hold on. Let me see. I'm gonna go back over here. Oh, is it still leaking? Oh, fuck. It's still leaking. Okay. Oh, God, my feet are gonna get wet again. Okay, look. How can I show you that it's shiny? Can you see? It's too dark in here to really tell. But it's a black, shiny surface. I'll show you like... See? It's like a mirror. So cool. Is it a phone? No, you mean the square one? No, it does look like a cell phone, right? But the shape of it, but it's not. My stupid thing. My dishwasher's leaking. Okay, I think I might have fixed it because I kind of put that thing back. Oh my God. Anyway, I have to go to bed. I have to do some work tomorrow. So I've been getting distracted with this trial. But, oh, that's what I was saying, that, you know, this time I'm watching the trial, but not with the, like, the false belief or false hope that, like, actual justice will happen. When I was watching the Karen Reed trial, I saw how, like, 85% of the commenters were, like, so pro-Karen, and I was just like, how is this happening? Like, I did believe it was an astroturfing campaign, and, but it seemed like it was going to be really hard for the jury to truly be impartial because every single day they were being bombarded by these pink protesters outside, and they could see, like, during breaks, they would probably see them out there, and you could even hear them. Like, when the verdict was read out, not guilty, you could hear the roar of celebration of the Karen readers, the free Karen readers, and it's just like, that's a lot of societal pressure. And you also have to think about it, like, these people going to court every day, seeing people standing out there, and maybe a lot of those, you know, pink people were not from, like, not locals. But I would think if you're going to jury duty, you obviously live in the community. This is about somebody who lives in the community. These are people who, maybe not all, but a lot of them may have been in the community. And so people are not going to just easily, most people just want to like be part of the crowd and go along to get along. They don't want to be that one voice who stands up and says, this doesn't make sense, I'm one of those people who I don't mind saying, hey, I'm not going to just go with the crowd. I'm going to actually think critically, and I'm going to look critically at the evidence, and I'm not going to just say, oh, you're a white lady who has some money. Well, you must not have meant ill. You must have been possessed. You must have been, oh no, you were framed, just like Karen Reed. Remember Karen Reed was framed. Like today, today when I was watching, what is it? Is it Roberta Glass? I was watching her video, and I said, like, these people who are trying, these trolls who are spreading this whole like Patrick Clancy did it bullshit story, they sound just as crazy as people who thought that the McCabe's and all the nephew and the friends, they all murdered their friend John O'Keefe and threw him on the lawn. I'm like, there's literally no evidence at all that supports that, but yet people ran with that theory and villainized all of those witnesses and blamed them as murderers. And that's why those motherfuckers are being sued for defamation. And I hope that they win. But some dumbass in the comments like, well, actually, the friends did kill him. I'm like, what, you stupid bitch? So, so this time I'm watching the trial, knowing full well this bitch is gonna roll to some good night, William. This bitch is gonna get off. She will. Maybe she'll get a hung jury. Maybe there'll be one or two people on that jury who are like, you can't be psychotic. You can't be like, yes, you're seeking help and you can't sleep and you're exhausted and you're depressed and, you're saying that you don't want to be here anymore, but you're not psychotic, you're not bipolar, you're not, you would love a hung jury, then she gets another trial. Wait, isn't that what happened with Karen Reed? Did she get a second trial or not? Or she just got off? I don't remember, to be honest. I would much rather she got... Okay. That's funny. I get it. I just think that, I think it's a lot more likely that she's going to get not guilty by reason of insanity and go to a mental... Maybe she'll be in a mental hospital for longer, but the fact is that she can get out. It's not prison. They can't say you're not allowed to have children anymore. That's like just not a thing. If they put her in prison, then that's a way of making sure she doesn't have children anymore. But if they put her in a mental hospital, that she can get out in 6 months or even, 6 years, she could have children. She's like 35 years old. So the idea that she would be able to be free. And then there's people who are like, she's in a wheelchair. She's never, ever gonna have a life. Like, what? There are plenty of people who are in wheelchairs or who have some kind of, disability or challenge. There's someone who I went to high school with who, he used to be like a jujitsu guy, and he played guitar and he sang and he played with his daughter was like a singer and stuff. And he liked to ride motorcycles, and 6 years ago he was driving his motorcycle, and I know some of this from his Facebook posts. He said He was driving, everything was a beautiful day, everything was fine. Next thing he knew, he opened his eyes and the bike was on top of him, and his friend was like trying to take it off, and he's a paraplegic now. And that was it. This perfectly healthy, very fit guy. He like literally was obsessed with jujitsu for years, like dedicated, and that's it. He was a paraplegic, and he just posted like 2 days ago that I think he didn't post this, but I think his wife might have left him. But he posted a couple days ago this long post. I just read it tonight about how, you know, this happened in 2000, and he was going from all these different healthcare places and physical therapy places, and then he basically like needed a place to go, but he was writing that he has his own apartment now, which is why I think he's divorced, because why are you in your own apartment if your wife and kids still live in the house? So obviously, but you know, it's difficult to be the spouse of somebody who's paraplegic. And you know, I don't know, he didn't write anything about it, but my point is and this same guy, you want to know even horrible, his younger brother committed suicide like 2 years ago. Like, here it is, he became a paraplegic, and his brother, who was perfectly able-bodied, had struggles that did not include being stuck in a wheelchair. I mean, in his post that he wrote today, he literally said that for the first like 2 years, the only way he could get around was in a chair that he could move with his mouth. But then eventually, with help from different doctors and stuff, he can use his arm to move the thing around. And he's going to be living in his own apartment, one town over, and he's going to have like nurses or whatever helping him. My point is, like, you can absolutely suffer greatly but still lead a happy, productive life that you feel proud of. And you know, so people who say that Lindsay Clancy, because she's now paralyzed from the waist down, that should be enough punishment, or this one, which is even, to me, even more of an insult. Oh, she's suffering because her kids are dead, and that's enough. It's enough of a punishment, the fact that she has to live with the fact that her kids are dead. In what world is the consequences of your horrific evil crime good enough to be justice and the punishment of that crime? Oh, I'm so sad I killed my children when I didn't need to do that. If the story was like, this was a single mom who had absolutely no health insurance, she had no access to health care, she had no help, she didn't have her parents who literally could come and stay with her for an extended amount of time, she didn't have her in-laws, who she said in a Facebook post or something that she intentionally does not let them watch her children despite them wanting to, despite them wanting to take care of the kids, she doesn't let them. She had her husband who worked from home in the basement where she killed their 3-year-old. And like in his office, she killed the 3-year-old specifically in the father's office. And the other 2 kids were in the basement in a different section that wasn't his office. So I've seen some people suggest, like, now we don't know the state of their marriage. See, I told you it was going to be on for a long time. We don't know the state of their marriage. We don't know if, so like Pat Brown, the profiler on YouTube, was saying she believes that Lindsay has, you know, exhibits a lot of signs of like behavioral personality disorder and psychopath. and like narcissistic personality disorder. And she was explaining like these diagnoses can manifest in people like they are mad when their children are getting attention and they're not getting attention. And maybe she wanted, she really wanted to hurt Patrick. Like if you want to truly kill yourself, why would you need to kill your children? Like, I don't think people should kill themselves. I think people should seek therapy and get the help that they need. But like saying you're suicidal, like being a mom of I still consider my kids young, even though they're teenagers, but I have been through so much with my babies. I have been through, I mean, like I said, when I was with their dad, living with him, might as well have been a single mother. I mean, I literally did everything. I talked about it in one live where I said, one day I said to my then boyfriend, can you please just take our son out for a walk? Can you please just give me a little bit, like an hour? And my son was 2 years old, and it became a big argument because basically he had no clue. He had no idea. He didn't know how to pack a diaper bag. He didn't know how to get the kid dressed. He didn't know what he needed. Like, he had absolutely no idea. And I'm like, how can you not know how to take your son for a walk? And he said, well, I've never done it. Our son was 2. And I was enraged, but 99% of that rage, it was directed at myself, that I had allowed. I mean, that was at the time, which was like 15 years ago. I felt like, how could I let it go this far where for 2 years? But now I can look at it and be like, how could you have not ever once wanted to take your kid out just because he's your baby and you want to be with your baby? Like, how like, I was mad at myself that I had let it go this far without asking, but I was also like, now I'm like, what the fuck? And it kind of goes back to that conversation I was having with a guy at work, like, who just believes that women are, better parents, women are more bonded, women, mothers are better nurturers. And he also said some bullshit like, I get frustrated with my kids, and, my wife gets frustrated too, but she just naturally has this thing that just, she's able to take it more. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, that's such bullshit that men put on us. They expect us to be able to deal with all this stress and lack of sleep and lack of help and lack of having a real partner, lack of having an actual parent, a co-parent. And they just fucking think like, oh, I'm stressed and I can't handle it, but you can do it all, babe. You're built for that. No, fuck you, motherfucker. We have to work hard at it. And it's exhausting. And it takes a lot out of us. And when you need help, when you want help, like the people who think that Lindsay Clancy was begging for help and was failed in every way, they don't know the evidence. They're not paying attention to it. They don't see how many doctors she had access to, how many doctors were responding to her like almost instantaneously, how much they were intently listening to her, how much they were trying to get this lady help, that she continued, like she was going to doctors and she was not doing anything they fucking told her to do. So if you're non-compliant, you withhold information, you don't disclose what you're really thinking or feeling or going through, you're not honest about the situation, you deny help at every turn, you can't then turn around, murder your children and say, oh my God, I heard a voice and I was failed. I was screaming for help and nobody would help me. No, bitch, you had so many people trying to help you. She had a village around her. And that's why it's like, there are people who are crazy or they have some serious mental health problems and it's just obvious. But again, like Daryl Brooks, he ran over all those people, those seniors and those little kids and those happy fucking holiday celebrators. And he killed a whole bunch of people and he injured so many more. And he was obviously out of his fucking mind. So send him to a mental health prison for the rest of his life. Like, the fact that you're out of your fucking mind to the point where you murdered people and you can't control yourself and you don't even know what the fuck you did, you go somewhere forever. Hi, Dark Devil. These guys really need to do better. Women are truly superheroes, but you shouldn't have to be without a choice. And, you know, I mean, we could be a better superhero if we had actual partners. You know, I've been a single mom for, like I said, almost the entirety of it. I've been like actually living by myself with the children, for like 11 years. So, you know, and now my ex, like, he did live in town for a couple years, but then he ended up moving because it was cheaper, and then he moved even further. Now he's an hour away because he lives rent-free with his mama. So, you know, and he's gotten many different apartments over these years, that unfortunately they never lasted, you know, more than a year or two. But as a single guy, you know, he has never had to say, oh, I have 2 children that live with me. I have been discriminated against. I mean, my process of looking to find this place took me 4 months. And a big part of it is that there's a lot of discrimination against a single mother, a single income family, a single mom with 2 kids. And they don't always have to say it, but there's a ton of, I got discriminated against the first time when we moved out of the apartment that, you know, the apartment that me and my baby's daddy had rented together when our baby was 7 weeks old. And we lived there for 7.5 years together. And then, well, no, I lived there for 7.5 years with the kids. He moved out after, well, he moved like a year before we moved out. He moved out. No problem getting an apartment. Absolutely no. He didn't have to disclose that he even had kids. Single dads that don't live with their children, they have it so much easier. And now he's been living with his mom for like 2 or 3 years, rent-free. I think he's been living with her for 3 years. So any money he makes, just stockpiling it. Me, now I'm paying 50% of my income is rent. And I get almost no child support. I mean, what he gives me is basically just barely their allowance. But he sees them every week. They love him dearly. I mean, they give him all the credit. All the credit. Anyway, guys, it's super freaking late and I gotta go to bed. And oh my God, what an absolute fuck dick. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Possessive, and everybody else that's here. Please like and share and subscribe. Yeet and delete, motherfucker. I'll think of the you see how I ignored that bitch and I yeeted him. What rhymes with yeet? Yeet, Pete, skeet, deet, reet, pleat, meet, cheat. All right. Mwah. Watch the replay, share the video, watch it again, share it with your friends, and please subscribe. I've noticed that most of the people who view my stuff, even repeatedly, have not actually subscribed. It's free and it would help my channel out greatly. So thank you. Leave a comment, a good one, and I will see you next time. Bye.